Picture two lawns. Lawn 1. Pale green patches of crabgrass sprawling low across the yard, choking out your good grass, spreading a little further every week until by August it looks like someone dumped a truckload of weeds across your front yard. Lawn 2. The same yard, same house, same soil, but dense, dark green, and completely crabgrass free. And you never once got down on your knees to pull a single weed by hand. That second lawn isn't luck. It isn't a miracle product either. It's 4 steps, done in the right order, at the right time. That last part, the order and the timing, is the whole game. Miss it, and you can buy every product at the garden center and still lose. Get it right, and crabgrass basically stops being a problem you think about. Here's the thing almost nobody tells you clearly. Most people fight crabgrass in the summer, when it's already thriving, already spreading, and already too late to do much about it. By the time you're standing over a patch of crabgrass in July, wondering what to spray on it. You're not really fighting this year's crabgrass anymore, you're fighting next year's too, because it's already dropped thousands of seeds into your soil. Today, I'm walking you through the 4-step system that flips that entire equation, so you're winning the fight in spring instead of losing it all summer. Why crabgrass is different from every other weed you've fought before, the steps. You need one piece of biology, because it explains why the normal weed killer approach fails so often. Crabgrass is a grass, not a broadleaf plant like dandelion or clover, an actual grass, biologically similar to your lawn. Same narrow blade structure, same basic growth pattern, same general family of plant. That similarity is exactly why crabgrass is so hard to kill selectively once it's established. A product that kills crabgrass outright usually can't tell the difference between crabgrass and your fescue, your Bermuda, or your Kentucky bluegrass. It's not being sprayed with a scalpel. It's being sprayed with something closer to a blunt instrument, and your good grass is standing right next to it. That's why the professionals don't treat mature crabgrass in July. They stop it in March and April, before it ever breaks the surface. Everything in this system is built around that one idea: you're not killing crabgrass. You're making sure it never gets the chance to grow in the first place. If you already have crabgrass actively growing right now, stick with me, step 4 covers exactly what to do about that. But the real system starts before the problem exists. Step 1. Time it to your soil. Not the calendar. The single biggest mistake homeowners make with crabgrass control is going by the date on the calendar instead of what's actually happening in the soil. Crabgrass seeds germinate when soil temperature hits roughly 55 degrees Fahrenheit and holds there for several consecutive days. Depending on where you live, that could be early March, or it could be late April. The calendar date means nothing on its own. What matters is the soil. Here's how to actually nail this. A basic soil thermometer costs about $6 at any hardware store, and it's the single best investment in this entire process. Push it 2 to 3 inches into the soil in a few different spots around your lawn, in the morning, over several consecutive days. You're watching for a consistent reading in the 50 to 55 degree range. If you don't want to buy a thermometer, most state agricultural extension offices publish local soil temperature data online for free, updated weekly during the season. There's also a low-tech shortcut gardeners have used for generations. When forsythia bushes start blooming in your area, that's a strong natural signal that soil temperatures have crossed into crabgrass germination range. The reason this step comes first, before you've even bought a product, is that everything downstream depends on it. Apply too early, and the barrier you create can break down before germination even starts. Apply too late, and crabgrass has already pushed through, which means you've missed your entire window for prevention, and you're stuck playing defense for the rest of the season. Mark this on your calendar as a range, not a fixed date, something like start checking soil temp in early March and actually check it. This is the step everyone wants to skip, and it's the one that determines whether the other 3 steps even work. Step 2. Lay down the barrier correctly once your soil is consistently sitting in that 50 to 55 degree window. It's time to apply a pre-emergent herbicide. This is the actual mechanism that stops crabgrass before it starts, and understanding how it works will save you from the 2 or 3 mistakes that ruin it for most people. A pre-emergent doesn't kill crabgrass that's already growing. It has no effect on existing plants at all. What it does is create a thin chemical barrier in the top layer of your soil that prevents crabgrass seeds from successfully germinating through it. Think of it less like a weapon and more like a gate that simply never opens. The seeds are still down there, they just can't get through. To apply it correctly, use a broadcast spreader, not a handheld pump sprayer. Granular pre-emergent products are designed to distribute evenly across the lawn surface, and they work best applied dry, then watered in afterward. Follow the application rate printed on the bag. Exactly more product does not mean a stronger barrier. It means wasted money and potential runoff into areas you don't want it, like storm drains or garden beds. After applying, water it in. Most pre-emergent products need somewhere between a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch of water within a few days of application in order to activate that barrier in the soil. If rain isn't in the forecast, run your sprinklers to get the same effect. Now here's the mistake that undoes this entire step for a lot of people. Do not aerate or heavily rake your lawn for at least 2 to 3 months after applying pre-emergent. Aerating punches physical holes straight through the chemical barrier you just spent time and money creating, giving crabgrass seeds a direct path through the exact gate you built to keep them out. If you're planning to aerate and overseed this year, that needs to happen in fall instead, with your pre-emergent barrier going down the following spring. Trying to do both in the same season, in the wrong order, wastes your pre-emergent completely and can leave bare patches exposed right when crabgrass wants to move in. For lawns with a history of heavy crabgrass pressure, consider a second, lighter application roughly 8 weeks after the first. This extends your protection window through the peak of summer germination, when a single spring application might start to break down. Step 3. Build a lawn. Crabgrass can't get into this is the step almost nobody talks about, because it isn't a product you buy, it's a habit you build. And it's arguably more important than the herbicide itself. Crabgrass, like most weeds, is an opportunist. It doesn't invade thick, healthy turf. It exploits bare soil, thin patches, and compacted ground where there's no competition for sunlight and space. Every bare spot in your lawn is an open invitation. And no amount of pre-emergent barrier fully compensates for a lawn that's structurally weak. 3 specific practices close that opportunity. Mowing height. Most homeowners cut their grass shorter than they should, usually because it looks tidy right after mowing. But cutting too short weakens root systems, reduces the grass's ability to shade the soil surface, and creates exactly the kind of open canopy crabgrass needs to establish. For cool season grasses like fescue and bluegrass, aim for 3 to 3.5 inches. For warm season grasses like Bermuda or zoysia, the ideal height is usually shorter, often 1 to 2 inches. Check your specific variety. The rule that applies no matter what grass you have: never cut more than 1/3 of the blade length in a single mowing. Scalping your lawn even once can open up bare patches that take weeks to recover, and crabgrass moves fast. Nitrogen and soil health. A properly fed lawn grows denser, and density is your best natural defense against any weed, crabgrass included. A nitrogen feeding in early spring, timed a few weeks after your pre-emergent application, and another in early fall builds the kind of thick turf that simply doesn't leave crabgrass anywhere to take root. Overseeding thin spots. Any bare or thinning patch in your lawn is a future crabgrass problem waiting to happen. Fall, right after aerating, is the ideal time to overseed cool season lawns. So new grass has all winter and spring to establish before next year's crabgrass seeds get a chance to germinate there instead. None of this is complicated, but it's the part that gets skipped constantly, because it doesn't feel like doing something about crabgrass the way spraying a product does. It's slower, it's less visible in the moment. And it's exactly why it works. You're removing the opportunity instead of just fighting the symptom. Step 4. Handle what already got through. Maybe you're reading this in June and crabgrass is already up. Maybe you missed your soil temperature window this year, or you're dealing with a patch that broke through despite doing everything right. This step is for that. You have 3 realistic options at this point, and it's worth being honest about what each one actually accomplishes. The first is a post-emergent crabgrass killer. These work noticeably better on young crabgrass in its early stages than on mature, established plants, so speed matters. If you're going this route, the longer you wait, the less effective it becomes. Read the label carefully, since some formulations can stress your desirable grass in the process, particularly in hot weather. The second is hand-pulling isolated patches before they go to seed. This is labor-intensive, but it's genuinely effective for small infestations, and it has one advantage no spray has: it stops those seeds from ever hitting your soil, which means less pressure next spring. If you're going to hand pull, do it after watering, when the soil is soft enough that you can get the whole root system out rather than snapping off the top growth and leaving the plant to regrow. The third option is simply mowing at the correct height as covered in Step 3 to outcompete the crabgrass you have this season, while committing fully to pre-emergent application next spring. This won't eliminate what's already growing, but it limits how much it spreads and how many seeds it produces before the season ends. Whichever route you take, the goal for a breakthrough infestation isn't to win the war this summer. It's to minimize the damage and make sure you're not starting from an even worse position next spring. The real fix, the one that actually ends this cycle, is going back to Step 1 and doing it on time next year. Putting the 4 steps on a calendar, here's what an actual year looks like when you run this system properly. In early spring, once your soil consistently hits 50 to 55 degrees, apply your pre-emergent using a broadcast spreader and water it in. Do not aerate. A few weeks later, apply your first nitrogen feeding to start building turf density, and set your mower to the correct height for your grass type and leave it there for the season. Through early summer, keep an eye out for any crabgrass that broke through the barrier, especially in thin or previously bare areas, and hand pull it before it can go to seed. In late summer, apply a second nitrogen feeding to strengthen the lawn heading into fall. In fall, aerate your lawn and overseed any thin or bare patches. This is also the one time of year you can safely aerate without punching holes through a pre-emergent barrier, since you'll be laying down fresh pre-emergent again the following spring anyway. That's the entire cycle. Total cost for a typical yard running this full system for a year usually lands under $30 in products, plus tools most people already own. 2 lawns, same street. Completely different results. I want to give you a real comparison because it's the clearest way to see why sequence matters more than any single product. 2 neighbors, same street, same soil, same sun exposure. 3 years ago, both had moderate crabgrass problems. Both decided to fix it that same spring. The first homeowner bought a bag of crabgrass killer in June, after the crabgrass was already thriving. He sprayed it twice, saw some die back, and moved on with his summer. No pre-emergent the following spring, no change to his mowing height, no fall overseeding. The second homeowner applied pre-emergent in March, before anything had germinated. He raised his mower deck to 3.5 inches and left it there all season. In September, he aerated and overseeded the thin spots along his driveway and back fence line. By the following spring, the first homeowner had roughly the same crabgrass problem, arguably worse, because the untreated crabgrass from the previous summer had already gone to seed before he got around to spraying it. He was essentially back where he started, just money poorer. The second homeowner had almost no crabgrass that spring. The pre-emergent barrier had done its job the year before, and the thicker turf left no bare ground for new seeds to exploit. Same starting point, same street, same weed. The only difference was sequence, timing, and follow-through. Questions I hear constantly: can I aerate and apply pre-emergent in the same spring? No, aerating creates physical channels straight through the barrier you're trying to build. Aerate in fall, apply pre-emergent the following spring. What if I already missed the soil temperature window this year? You're not starting over from zero, you're moving to step 4. Use a post-emergent on young growth, hand pull isolated patches, and keep your mowing height correct for the rest of the season. Then mark your calendar for next spring, because that window is the one that actually breaks the cycle. How do I know it's actually crabgrass and not another grassy weed like goosegrass? This matters because pre-emergent timing differs slightly between species. Crabgrass typically has a lighter green color than the surrounding turf and a low, sprawling growth habit with blades fanning out from a central point near the ground. If you're not sure, a photo to your local extension office or garden center will settle it fast. Misidentifying the weed is one of the most common reasons people apply the right product at the wrong time and see no results. Do I need to apply pre-emergent every single year, forever? Most lawns do, at least for the first several years. But as your turf density improves through consistent mowing height and fall over seeding, you'll likely find breakthrough crabgrass becomes rarer and less severe each year, since there's simply less bare ground for it to colonize in the first place. The one thing that undoes all 4 steps, I'll leave you with this. Because I see it happen constantly. People do step 1 and step 2, they nail the timing, they lay down the barrier, and then they stop. They figure the hard part's done. But if you skip the mowing height, skip the feeding, skip the fall over seeding, you've only closed one door. New crabgrass seed is blowing in from your neighbor's yard, from birds, from the wind, every single season. If your lawn doesn't have the density to shut it out, it'll find whatever bare spot you left and start the exact same cycle again next year. The lawns that actually break free of crabgrass for good aren't the ones that found the perfect spray. They're the ones that ran all 4 steps in order for one full calendar year and then just kept doing it. That's the entire difference between fighting this every summer and never really thinking about it again. If this helped, subscribe next week. I'm covering the exact fall over seeding method that fills in bare patches permanently, so there's nothing left for crabgrass to exploit. And drop a comment, is your soil temperature window coming up soon, or have you already missed it this year? I read every comment, and I'll tell you exactly which step to start on based on where you're at.